My name is Arga. I'm not the type of person who enjoys traveling alone, but that night, I had no choice. I had to get back to the city as soon as possible to attend the funeral of an old friend. I boarded a train from a small town I had only heard of the day before. The station where I had to wait felt strangely unfamiliar, even though it was my first time there. The station was called Turtigal Station, as written on an old signboard with peeling paint. It was a small station, built in a colonial style, its structure weakened by time. Dim yellow neon lights hung from a wooden ceiling that looked like it could collapse at any moment. The waiting room was simple, just rows of rusted metal benches and a ticket booth whose protective glass was covered in scratches. Besides me, there were two other people. An old man in a worn-out hat sat in the corner, his head bowed in silence, and a young woman staring intently at her phone. Their expressions showed nothing, as if they were waiting for something beyond just a train. The clock on the wall showed 11 p.m. The last train was supposed to arrive soon. But something felt off. There were no announcements, no station staff walking around. Only the sound of the night wind whistling through the half-open windows. Main story. Time kept ticking. At 11:30 p.m., the train still hadn't arrived. I glanced at the old man in the corner, but he was gone. Just seconds ago, I had seen him sitting there. I stood up, trying to get a signal on my phone. Nothing. I walked toward the platform, hoping for any sign of life. But all I found was an old, rusted train car, sitting on a dead track. Its door was half open, revealing darkness inside. I had no idea why, but I stepped closer. A faint whisper, like overlapping voices speaking in hushed tones, filled the air. My heartbeat quickened. I tried to convince myself it was just the wind. When I peeked inside the train car, I saw a figure. Not the old man from before. This figure stood with its back facing me, dressed in tattered clothes, hair long and unkempt. I took a step back, but the wooden platform creaked. The figure turned around. Its face was not human. I ran as fast as I could, back to the waiting room. My breath was ragged, and my phone slipped from my grasp. As I picked it up, I saw a new message. Don't run. They like those who move fast. I turned around. No one was there. I had never given my number to anyone here. The night grew colder. I hid behind the bench, holding my breath as footsteps approached. The steps stopped right in front of me. I forced myself not to look, but curiosity overpowered fear. When I peeked, I saw myself standing there, staring at me with empty eyes. I tried to speak, to call out to the young man. But my voice sounded strange, like a distorted echo. He looked at me, his eyes wide with fear. He ran. Just like I had. I wanted to chase him, to tell him running wasn't an option. But my feet felt heavy, as if unseen chains were holding me down. I realized I was no longer Arga, the traveler. I was part of the station, an endless cycle of horror. Night after night, or was it days? I couldn't tell. I watched new faces arrive. All experienced the same fear, the same confusion, and eventually, they became part of the station too. Until one night, a girl arrived. She was different. She wasn't afraid. She walked straight toward me. You're Arga, right? I've been looking for you. I froze. Who was she? How did she know my name? The girl gave a faint smile. I know how to get out of here. But I need your help. Her name was Rania. She said she wasn't just an ordinary person. She hadn't stumbled into the station by accident. She had come looking for someone. Me. There's something binding your soul here, Arga. This isn't just about the station. It's about who you really are. Rania carried an old, dust-covered book, filled with strange symbols and maps marking the station as the center of something much bigger. She led me to a hidden gateway beneath the station, a dark tunnel filled with whispers and shadows. We descended into the tunnel, fighting off creatures that didn't belong to this world, uncovering the truth that the station was a prison for souls trapped between life and death. With every step, we got closer to the source of the darkness. But the deeper we went, the more I started to remember. I might not have been just another victim. There was a dark secret about who I was before all this happened. And that secret could destroy everything. When we reached the final chamber, we found a large, cracked mirror at its center. Rania said, "This isn't just a mirror. It's a gateway. But to escape, you must face your darkest self." I stepped closer, and from the mirror emerged another version of me, black eyes, a sinister grin, and laughter that made my blood freeze. The battle began. Not just against a shadow, but against myself. In that moment, I saw the faces of my family, my friends, and all the memories that had once made me feel alive. I realized that fighting my shadow only made it stronger. I had to accept it. With newfound resolve, I approached the mirror and said, "I accept every part of me, the good and the bad. I am not afraid anymore." The mirror shone brightly, shattering my dark self into fragments of light. The chamber trembled, tunnels collapsing behind us. Rania grabbed my hand, and together, we stepped into the light. I woke up on a station bench, in the warmth of a bright morning. People bustled around, the atmosphere full of life. There was no sign of the darkness I had faced. Rania sat beside me, smiling. "You did it?" I nodded, feeling a peace I had never known before. Though the shadows would always be a part of me, I knew I had finally returned. And for the first time in a long while, I felt alive.